thing. Potential is possibility. Potential is capability, the ability to become something that is not yet. So potential is all about the possibility of what things can become. So every day you wake up, God gives you life, and then he wraps it up in possibility. He wraps it up, and you having the choice and you having the decision to decide, what am I going to use the gift, the life that God put in me? What am I going to use this for? Am I going to use it to bless or to curse? Am I going to use it to inspire or to weaken? I'm a nerd, and I'm proud of being a nerd. And my students laugh, but they know that I am. So I love to research. I love to read. Reading is the greatest thing that anyone, in my opinion, can do. I love to read. Reading takes me to places I've yet gone. It lets me know what's going to happen when I get there. But I also like to study great people, because I feel if I study where they are, where they went, I too can go there as well. And so don't laugh at me when I tell you this person that I've studied, because it will seem a little odd, but work with me, it'll make some sense. But I actually researched Bruce Lee. Does anybody know who Bruce Lee is? All the mamas raise their hands. That's all right, daughters. I'm going to bring you on with me. All right. So how many of you guys have seen like the Karate Kid? Okay, now Will Smith just released that, so y'all have seen that one. I just saw that one. I remember the old one. But so basically, Bruce Lee was this fighting Chinese karate kind of guy, okay? And so Bruce Lee made a comment one time. He made this quote. He said, "From the time I was a child, I always told myself that I would become the greatest known Chinese star that ever lived." And at his death, at 33 years old, he was and still is the most famous Chinese star that has ever lived. Bruce Lee also went on to say that to him, potential, he said, as a child, I have had this instinctive urge for expansion and growth. To me, the function and duty of a quality human being is the sincere and honest development of one's potential. Bruce Lee is saying, in order to become quality, you've got to take this thing called ability and you've got to work it. You've got to understand that God didn't just give you your ability to speak and to write and to walk and to encourage. He didn't just give you that for nothing. But if you work it, it can be used to produce a quality life. When I was in school, I was the only African-American student in a class of 27 Caucasian students for 6 years of my life, from first grade to sixth grade. And the teachers used to always call my mom, and they said the only complaint, they used to call me Nikki back in the day, the only complaint we have about Nikki is she talks too much. And so my mama would tell me, girl, stop that talking. Don't nobody want to hear nothing you got to talk about. And I would say, yes, ma'am, but if there was a bug on the wall, I could make a 5-hour conversation out of that bug. And so all my life, people told me, stop talking so much, stop talking so much. And now I get paid to talk. Look at God. And so what I'm saying to you is, God gives you things, and sometimes we dismiss the little gifts that we have. But don't dismiss what's inside of you. If you can do makeup, who knows? You might be the person that God sends to New York and Paris and Rome to do the makeup of the stars. Never discredit what God gives you. It's all about your ability to work your potential. As it says, research says, Bruce Lee would practice the same kick over and over and over again. And they would tell him, why don't you try something new? He said, because this is my strength and I'm going to perfect it. So in life, when you look at this potential, you've got to work this potential, work it to the point that it becomes your strength and that it leads you into fulfilling the purpose that God has given to you. I'm a scientist by degree, and in science, some of you, I heard there are some graduates out there. We know that there's several kinds of energy. You've got thermal or heat energy. You've got kinetic energy, which is the energy of motion. And then you have potential energy, which is the energy that's displaced. It's the energy in position. Well, science has figured out something that's important, and that is, as long as you're sitting there doing nothing, you don't impact or affect anything. But the moment you move, the moment you begin to exhaust your potential, you become powerful. You become able to do things and to see things and to become things that you never thought of or ever dreamed or imagined. Ralph Waldo Emerson says that what lies behind us and what lies before us are small matters compared to what lies within us. So sometimes people say, it's hard for me to reach my potential. It's hard for me to do anything great because I've had a lot of mistakes. I've had a lot of failures. Things have happened to me. But you just heard them read that I started college with a 5.2 GPA and I ended my freshman year with a 1.68. I should not have remained in school. As a matter of fact, they said, we don't know how you didn't get put on academic probation. But God had a purpose. And what did not make sense to man made complete sense to God. So I have a long list of things that happened in my life negative, but I decided what lies behind me isn't important. What lies ahead of me is not always promised, but what I do today and how I choose to use what's inside of me today, that is what matters most. So it doesn't matter what failures you've experienced. There's a saying that says the only failure in failure is if you never try. But if you try, there is no failure. Because with every time you try, you're learning something new and something great. We have this board of life that has a bullseye in the middle. And that bullseye is your purpose. That bullseye is the thing that God has created you to become. And every day of your life, it is up to you to decide if you're going to take your darts, which is your potential, and aim it at that purpose. Don't just dream big, but become big. Do big things. Don't just think about it, but do it. Use your potential. When we talk about purpose and potential, there's another friend that likes to hang out with those two, and that friend is attitude. Because you see, I can have a lot of purpose and I can have a lot of potential, but if I have a negative, infectious attitude, nobody will want to even care about what my purpose is. So today I want you to think about it. There's another little quote. I love quotes. It says, any fact facing us is not as important as our attitude toward it. Your attitude will determine success or failure. If you have an attitude of defeat, it doesn't matter what happens, you will always see defeat. If you have a negative attitude, it does not matter what happens, you will always see, you will always eat, you will always sleep, you will always breathe negativity. But I love quotes, and there's this neat little chick that I know. Her name is Farrah. And Farrah has a quote. That's me. And Farrah's quote, woo, go Farrah, huh? My quote is, the only limits that you possess in life are the limits that your own mouth, your own mind, and your own actions place on you. There are no limits to the person that believes in themselves. They're barriers, but they're not limits, because every barrier can be breached. That's what happened in Hurricane Katrina. That's what's happening in cities now with the Mississippi River. A barrier can be crossed. And so you have to look at life and say, I'm not taking on a negative attitude. I'm not taking on a defeated mentality. I'm God's child. And if he said I can do it, I can do it. And I don't care who says I can't, I'm going to do it. You have to know. Nobody in my family does the things that I do. But you know what I told them? Your purpose was to bring me here. So now I can do what has been passed along from generation to generation that's never been done.